2001 Ford Excursion, running a 2010 Lariat cluster that is completely unmodified, totally stock, using the first revision of the swaphelper.com cluster helper. Ford Excursion with a 5.4. This is a unmodified 2010 Lariat cluster. You can see it's unmodified. It's running totally stock. That is the very first revision of the cluster helper. I've got it temporarily wired in so that I can later, when I actually wire it in permanently, I can film a video of the entire dash swap. But we've got everything working: tachometer, odometer, speedometer. The range sensor works and did not need any additional parts or any of the things you'll find with some of the super glue or glue gun clusters where they require a range sensor. This is coming straight off the PCM. And you see 1 and 2 are available, 3 is not, because if you look on the dash on a, well, at least in this case, a 2001 Excursion, there is no third. It's just drive, 2 and 1. But we got the coolant temperature sensor working. The transmission temperature isn't actually provided by the truck in stock form, so the kit will include a transmission temperature sensor that goes into the service port on the side of the 4R100. The turbo PSI gauge actually uses a pressure transducer, which you can connect into your manifold for turbo PSI. It's a standard 5-volt transducer. We will be selling those as well. You can get a 40 PSI, so the notches are perfectly lined up, 0 to 40 PSI. But if you use 100 PSI, just know that each notch is 25 PSI. The backlight, of course, works. Kind of hard to see in the daytime. Door ajar. Blinkers. High beams. All that kind of good stuff. So let's take it for a spin real quick. Show you how it works. Shift through the gears and go into drive. Also take a look here, the tow haul works, so it turns on and off. The cruise light works, all of the indicator lights work. ABS, battery check engine, airbag, everything else. So you'll fully know what's going on with your vehicle at all times. It's just like factory. So with the first revision, or this being the first revision, I made an assumption about how the speedometer, the vehicle speed sensor signal was, how it was fed to the original instrument cluster, and I thought it was a conditioned DC square wave, but it turns out that it is not. So the speedometer didn't work immediately, and I had to make a couple of hacks on this being the very first version. I'll get it sorted out on the next one. But you may notice the speedometer jumps a little bit as we drive. and that'll be fixed in the next version. Like I said, until I actually drug my oscilloscope out and took the measurements, it wasn't working properly, but I've got it good enough for a demonstration. So so now the cruise control is on. So you see the odometer, everything works like it is supposed to. I'm thinking about making it an option so that if you, like in my case, I have a 5.4, I don't have turbo PSI. Either you can keep it as a pressure gauge, maybe you want to do line pressure or something like that off the transmission, or I thought about making it a voltmeter, with 12 volts in the middle and something along those lines. Selectable, of course. The cluster helper actually has a USB port on board. You'll notice there's a bunch of little jumper wires. This being the very first revision, I had to make some changes to the hardware, but it has a USB port, so I plan to make it field upgradable. We'll release firmware updates. I'll probably write a small piece of software for Microsoft Windows, and in that you'll be able to make selections, changes, and actually see real-time readouts from the cluster helper to help diagnose what installation issues and things like that. So we're really excited to bring this to market. I think there's a real desire to run these clusters unmodified. We'll keep you guys updated with videos. We may be opening pre-ordering for the 99 to 01 models. I have a 03 6.0 truck that I own that I'm going to use to develop for the 2002 to 2005 Excursion and basically 2002 to 2004 Super Duty trucks. A little more involved with that. You have the accessory delay relay and some stuff like that that'll have to be added. But this will take care of some of the early trucks, Excursions, things like that. Now, this will be a complementary product to another product that we're going to be releasing at the same time, or near the same time, called the column helper. And what it is going to do is allow you to run the newer column, the 08 to 10 column. And yes, for everyone who's asking, we will be getting into the 2011 plus clusters, but right now we got to limit the scope a little bit so we can get something out to market, and then we'll focus on those things down the road. Now, from my preliminary look, it looks like the 2008 to 10 cluster will fit in the 11 up dash, so even if you run a newer dash, you should be able to use the 8 to 10 cluster. Now, I haven't fully researched that, but it looks like it'll fit. But back to the column helper, what it'll do is it's going to allow you to use the multifunction switch, hazards in their stock location, just like the older column, all that kind of stuff. The wipers, it'll actually let you use all the modes on the wipers. It'll also have the inputs for the Excursion to do the rear wiper, and you just have to buy a multifunction switch out of like an Escape or some of the other Ford vehicles. I bought one out of an Expedition. It required some modification. Follow the link below. Take a look at the website for details on pre-orders, and we look forward to getting this out to you guys. Thank you for your time.